Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Out War Podcast. Rosie, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to worship a peacock and get rich?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then we've got the podcast for you because today we're going to talk all about that. It's going to be fun. But before we get to that, we got to do a little baby update, man.
Okay. So it's 17 weeks. It's as big as a pomegranate.
Yes.
It says we should be able to find out soon what kind of baby gender it is.
Oh, good.
We should start finding out what kind of childbirth stuff we want to do. Like making plans already.
We got to do that. When did we start Le Mans?
I'm not sure.
Le Mans. Le Mans is a race in France.
You probably couldn't do it too well when you're pregnant.
No.
Bumping in. So we're halfway through. We're almost halfway through with the pregnancy. It's the baby's about 5.1 inches long, weighs about 5.9 ounces.
Wow.
And it says there's some more symptoms, and I'm not going to read. It says you get weird dreams. You get itchy boobs and belly. Some other stuff dealing with fluids. More rapid weight gain. You have gained about 5 to 10 pounds by now.
Oh man, this is the worst part of women. They just don't like hearing this stuff.
And you get stretch marks.
Okay.
So
good news.
Yep. And it says the baby's cartilage is now turning to bone. So it's actually turning it.
All right.
Putting some meat on those bones. Putting on some fat.
5 ounces worth of fat.
Yeah. And so there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's our baby update.
Yep.
All right, let's go listen and figure out what it means to get rich by worshiping a peacock. So sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War Podcast.
What's up, warriors? Welcome to another episode of All Out War. I am Turner, and I like that background music. That's good, huh?
It is good.
Yeah. I'm joined in the studio with Rosie. Rosie, how you doing today, man?
Doing well.
You look good.
Thanks, man.
Thought I'd let you know that. So,
thanks.
So what do you know, man?
We're just going to go right into
Let's just go into it, man.
Cool. Hey, did you know that socks and sandals were worn by the Romans 2,000 years ago?
They were the original dads.
Yeah. They found split-toed socks that look like carrots. They
do look like carrots.
That are made for the Romans.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of makes sense, though, because the Romans would invade northern areas. They would go into cold temperature areas when they were taking over the world.
Yeah, plus
they were dads. I wonder if they knew dad jokes. Like, I wonder if there was any, like, Roman dad jokes.
We probably wouldn't get it if they did survive. But
dude, I saw a Roman toilet. And
you mean a hole in the ground?
No, dude. They had. I got a did you know about Rome?
Okay.
Did you know they had air conditioning?
I did know that.
All right. Did you know they had running water?
I did know that.
All right, whatever, dude. So in their running water, they actually had bathrooms.
Yeah.
And what it was these two slabs of like stone, and there was a gap between them, and you would sit with your cheeks one on each slab, and the gap between you would be the delivery point, and you would drop your load down in there. That's what you do, and it would like fall into a gutter,
Be taken out,
and running water would wash it away, and it would it was like the way it was designed. It didn't splash on you and stuff. Like they thought things through. They had paved roads, man.
I did know that.
The Romans were a pretty progressive group. I'll give them that.
They were progressive.
As pagan as they were.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So they did have split-toed socks.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
cool.
You want to hear something else about here's a double one.
Oh, doubled up.
A double, did you know?
Okay.
So speaking of other old cultures.
Okay.
Did you know that there's such a food, a delicacy, eaten during the spring in Pyongyang, China?
Where is it?
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang.
Dongyang. Pyongyang.
Okay.
It's called virgin boy eggs.
Ooh.
And they take eggs, and they soak it in urine of boys,
What?
and they cook it.
That's disgusting. They eat that?
Yeah, it's a delicacy, and it's supposed to. It's good.
Let me guess. Makes good for fertility.
No, it says here's from Guy Yahui. I can't even do that. It says, if you eat this, you will not get heat stroke. These eggs cooked in urine are fragrant.
I love it. You will not get heat stroke.
They are good for your health. Our family has them for every meal. In Pyongyang, every family likes eating them.
Well, I will never go there, and I will never eat that.
Yeah, they're only 24 cents an egg.
Yeah, they should be thrown away. Is what they should be.
Hey, man, that's their culture.
Yeah, you want to eat urine-soaked eggs? Go for it.
No, I mean, we have pickled...
Urine marinate. But we don't marinate in pee. Come on.
Hey, man.
We don't do that. This is America. We have corn dogs. We have deep-fried Twinkies.
Which is probably healthier for you. Right. Which one?
Oh, urine. Oh, the eggs for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to eat it.
No.
You put a deep-fried Twinkie in front of me and a urine-marinated egg, what do you think I'm going to pick?
I don't know, man.
I could be doing like a no-carb diet. I'd still pick the Twinkie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat some urine.
It might be the best thing ever. You might find out
No
that it's like
way.
the first time you found out you could put...
Well, why's it got to be a young boy's urine? Like, what makes it that...
I don't ask the questions. I just read the articles.
Oh, my gosh.
I've never been to China, so I wouldn't know.
And I have. I didn't eat any eggs yet.
So there you go.
All right, man. Dude, that's funny. Double did you know?
It's funny. We can make fun of the Chinese because they can't listen to this podcast. Any Chinese national cannot hear us making fun of this.
However, I don't know. We did have one download in China.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
According to our stats, so.
And that was one time, once, 6 months ago. We never heard from them ever again.
Well, they were taken out and shot.
Yeah. Interesting. We had a couple in Iran, which is...
Yeah.
You're playing with fire. And thanks to you, we were probably on a list. Because
thanks to me? Why?
No,
why
no.
me?
Thanks to the listener in Iran
sorry.
are the multiple listeners that... That's very weird.
You know, it could have been a proxy server that just
I don't know
ran
why.
through
I don't know why anyone would try to listen to this podcast on an Iran VPN, because everything is locked down to Iran.
Welcome to Radio Free Iran. Where
Yeah, so
you get the straight news. Well,
is that how they talk in Iran?
I don't know. I just
They talk like gangsters in the 50s.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah. Did you know Iran used to be a really pretty destination that people like from America wanted to travel to?
Yeah. It was beautiful
Back in the 60s and the 70s?
Yeah, it was like tropical, and just,
they had the beaches. Like, I think
they got
I was
both
just I heard,
mountains and beaches.
I just heard some Ray Charles song. It was on some playlist somehow. He was talking about we're going to Tehran.
No way.
Yeah.
Ray Charles?
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
So yeah, there you go.
Things change, man.
Yep.
I mean, when you put the what is the Ayatollah in charge?
Yeah, under the Shah.
Everything goes downhill.
Yep.
It was all for oil. Anyways.
And Iraq Stargates.
And Stargates, yes. Oh man. So we're gonna continue on in the S3, the Secret Societies series that we've been doing. And last episode we talked about the what was it?
Castrators.
Yes, the castrators of Russia. What a fun episode that was. And you should have used the Did You Know with the eggs for that one.
I should have, but I didn't didn't find it.
Would have been more appropriate.
Yeah.
But tonight we're going to talk about the Order of the Peacock Angel, and I've dubbed them the Secret Society of Cash. That's what I wrote in the margin of my book. But this is a really interesting one. The name alone is what got me interested in it. Mm-hmm. But then when I read about it, I was really, as always, I was always disappointed with the, why it was called that.
Right.
Because it's sad. But as all of these secret societies that we've been talking about, there's always some kind of underlying current of that I've noticed about them all that are like they have some motive that they're trying to get to, and that they're trying to attain, whether it's power, subversively, wealth, or whether it's some kind of esoteric thing where they think they can tap into, and but it always ends up coming out like interestingly bad. Like remember the assassins, we were talking about them, and all this loyal and secret knowledge and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they end up having to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They become hired guns. This one's a little different than that, and so
and the thing we're going to read is actually from a first person perspective of a guy that, so the book was written in the 70s, like 76 or something like that we're reading this part out of, and he actually went to the order meeting, or a meeting, or a ceremony. That's what word I was thinking of.
I thought he met like a priest or something.
Yeah. So it's his account of actually being part of the rituals and everything. So it's kind of cool that it's the secret society that was going on at the time that this guy got introduced to and wrote about it.
Because some of these secret societies we've been talking about, they've either just disappeared completely or they're just so hidden that people don't know about them or whatever. But some of them, they're like, oh yeah, they were real. Their heyday was this, and
a lot of them are way back.
Yeah,
well, the ones we talked about were
like 1200s. And stuff. Yeah. So do you want to start, or do you want?
Yeah,
I think you have the best reading voice.
Thanks, man.
It makes me calm.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, well, so I'll just start reading. It says, it was a scene that would have delighted the heart of any Sunday newspaper reporter and would have aroused the envy of a master stage designer. Somewhere in Putney, so that's I was going to say the next thing, it says, most respectable of London suburbs, so it's in London. 60 men and women were gyrating ecstatically in an underground temple before an 8-foot glossy black statue of a peacock.
So, all right. I got to stop you. I'm going to do this a little bit.
Okay.
Do you mind?
No, please.
Okay. When you said that they were gyrating ecstatically under a peacock, like a big glass peacock, the first image that came to mind because of the time frame.
Tybo.
No.
Oh.
Austin Powers. I just hear dun, 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 the music. I don't know. Yeah. And I just see people in like white boots and mini skirts and dancing, gyrating.
It probably is. Yeah.
It might be that.
I mean, it's the same.
I wonder if, like, when they were in these meetings, if they were doing any of that.
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
Absolutely. I would assume so.
All right. All right. I apologize for interrupting you.
So it says, as I stood in a small gallery built above the floor level, I took note of the pool of water in which the bird's feet rested, a monotonous arabesque. So it's of Arab.
Yeah.
That's a weird word you don't come across often. Of the wall decoration, a crisscross pattern on the stone floor, rising and falling in an incessant, wow, I can't read right now, all-intrusive beat. Hidden drums were thudding out a tempo which made it almost impossible to keep oneself still. It's like you said, the like dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Each of the worshippers was robed in a white flowing garment which completely covered his ordinary clothes. On the breast of each was embroidered a peacock, some green, some black, others red. So there you go. They have different colors denoting different levels.
Yeah.
Or some sort of place within the cult.
That's what I was going to say. It's like it probably was some kind of designation for like a rank within the order.
Yeah. All right. The devotees of the Peacock Angel met once a fortnight, and a fortnight, if you didn't know, is 2 weeks.
Oh, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, fortnight is 2 weeks.
So why do they call the video game Fortnite? And it's like one thing.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's spelled differently.
Does it last 2 weeks? Oh, it is spelled differently?
Yeah, Fortnite has a Fortnite N-I-T-E.
Oh, it's the old spelling night. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a fortnight.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the devotees of the Peacock Angel. Wow, this is taking a while to get to.
I'm sorry.
No. The devotees of the Peacock Angel met once a fortnight, carry out their complicated rituals, whirl before the effigy of their deity, and return to their respective homes. You would not be able to identify them if you saw them outside.
Don't say it. I don't think you should say it.
Okay.
Oh, it's the author's words.
Okay. No Asian or Arab leads the revels.
It's definitely not politically correct writing on here.
No, but it's funny.
Oh,
no obscene rites are practiced. The devil worship attributed to the Yazidis of Kurdistan, who are also peacock worshippers, is not to be found here. Then why should an otherwise apparently sober and sometimes very ordinary man in the street become a member of a cult like this? What does he get out of it? How is he recruited? You want to start reading?
Sure. The snake and the cock, or the peacock. You don't have to snicker, man. That just kills me every time.
I didn't.
You snickered. The snake and the cock, or the peacock, are symbols of power. As such, they are worshipped and propitiated by the Yazidis, okay, and have given many a headache of identification to those experts on the Gnostic mysteries who have found them engraved upon seals of uncertain origin in the Middle East. The English version of the cult was brought to Britain by a Syrian who settled in London in 1913. He converted, so runs of the tradition of the cult, 5 people of importance. So he converted, so runs. I don't understand that writing, but he converted 5 people.
So he converted, according to the tradition of the cult.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
so runs the tradition of the cult. 5 people of importance. A banker, a member of the peerage, and 3 ladies who were all well known at the time as society hostesses. His name is known only to the initiates, who introduce it in the disguised form into their conversation. The cult grew in numbers until 16 halkas, or lodges, were formed, each with a minimum of 7 members. So it's actually growing pretty good there. Mm-hmm. Essentially the belief, and this is important, is that there are 2 powers which can be of help to people in everyday life. The powers of increase and of construction. These are known by the coded name of the peacock and the snake, because their names must not be pronounced except by the initiates. The reason for adopting these pseudonyms is that the total number of the names worked out by numerology is equivalent to the numbers of the names of the words peacock and snake. So I guess they had some kind of weird numerology and secret words.
Which is interesting, connected with all the Kabbalah and stuff like that.
Yes, they will mention Kabbalah in here right now, actually. Oh. It was this discovery based upon the numerology of the Arab Kabbalah, which led to the London Peacock men and women. I had let it be known that I had heard of their existence, which I had, and that I had something of interest to impart to them, which I had not, through a member who had been introduced to me, and who had mentioned the Yazidis in a general conversation on the Middle East. That he was a priest of the cult became evident when I mentioned the sacred number. The Peacock cultish British branch, which is what they would be called, did not at that time know that anyone who was reasonably proficient in the Kabbalah system of the Arabs would be able to decipher their holy name. The aims of the cult are distinctly fraternal. The main objectives are sharing of the ecstatic experience which follows the operation of the rituals and mutual help thereafter. These ideas are by no means confined to the Peacock people, for they underlie the theories and practices of quite a number of secret societies. What was interesting was to find the cult in London, to make contact, and to be able to witness the ceremonies. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I love this first-person style, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of a neat window into this. All right. Let me keep reading.
I can take over if you want.
Sure.
Like Sufism, with which it has probably connections in the remote past, which is Sufism is mystical Islam.
Yeah.
So for anyone that didn't know that.
Okay.
It's a sect of Islam that's more mystical. So
yeah.
there you go. So like Sufism, the Peacock religion embraces the belief that the sharing of the rituals will make the worshippers in some way akin to one another and also conduce towards the realization of their ambitions. Yeah. At a certain point in his development, the worship becomes enlightened as to what his true vocation is and finds the means to satisfy it. Thus, the organization not only offers what might be called peace of mind and spiritual activity, it purports to bring material success in the mundane world as well.
So, basically what they're saying is they would tap into like some deeper, like, purpose in their life.
Yeah, so it'd say
through like vocation.
Well, it would be like some new. I think of Joel Osteen.
Oh, great!
Kind of like this because he's saying, you know, I've never really listened to him, but he wraps it up. I would assume just by accident. Sometimes he might throw in some biblical truth. You know what I mean? Like he accidentally say something that's biblical.
Yeah.
So people are getting some sort of physical thing, but so they're being fed spiritually as well as what they hope to be monetarily.
Yeah. Because I put in the margin on my book here, I put materialistic spirituality.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting. So I guess they would equate materialistic success as reaching different levels of societal success in this cult.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it seems like, which is like when you think about like something like the Freemasons or something like that, where they talk about a fraternal organization.
Yeah. So
there, I've heard stuff where people say like, why would they join the Freemasons in the first place? For connections, Elks Lodge or any organization that is predominantly
like the Shriners or
why would you do that? Because you want part of it would be to help people, or what in the case of the Shriners, but it would also be to make connections, in ways that maybe you have a common interest or something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so that's one way that you can think of monetarily.
Yeah.
Like, if I join this, if I somehow get in with these prestigious people in a very practical way, if they know me, they might
refer me
to a job or something like that. But at the same time, there's some secret knowledge or some secret, like you think of Eckhart Tolle or stuff like the Secret is like a book that was very new agey.
I remember that. Yeah,
it came out probably not a couple of years ago, or The Power of Now.
How crazy! They literally call it The Secret.
Right, exactly.
It's
so it's all this Eastern mysticism and Eckhart Tolle wrote The Power of Now, I think what it was, but it's this I don't know, but basically I can't remember the term.
Visualization and
but it's
self-actualization and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's almost like if you see something and you pray for I can't remember the term, it's bugging me a lot. But if you keep meditating on something, then eventually it'll transfer into the...
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember it's literally a lot of cultists will do this. They'll use this, like, say the same phrase over again until it becomes reality. It's like they speak into existence.
Right.
Something
and
that's
what's interesting, and so there's this movie that came out, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now, and it was called What the Bleep Do We Know? And it was disguised as, and there's some stuff you were talking about, a podcast you listened to recently, and I think it goes down the same rabbit hole of this, and some people might be deceived by hearing certain things. Like they'll bring in this idea of self-actualization, which is an Eastern mysticism, Eastern religious teaching and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But also they'll bring science into it. So that's this thing, like if you watch this, What the Bleep Do We Know? They try to bring quantum mechanics into it.
Wow.
And like there's this other book called I think it's called The Self-Aware Universe. And I think we had talked about it so this is a little bit of a tangent, but it'll get back to,
right. Yeah.
So this is an argument you might hear, and they'll say something like, one of the most famous quantum, mechanical, quantum theory tests that people always talk about is the double slit experiment, where they shoot these beams and they seem to be the observable universe. So the act of some person, of me looking at this thing, makes the atoms or these molecules behave in a particular way.
Right.
But once the atom somehow knows that there's nobody actually watching it, it behaves in a different way.
Yeah.
So
like it's all communicating with the invisible and all of that.
Right, yeah. But so they'll take this science stuff like that and they'll go ahead and say, so by you visualizing and looking at something or bringing it into the material world by your thoughts or whatever,
yeah,
then you can actually create your own reality. So visualizing money and thinking that and acting like you're already rich, like
right.
that.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there, that you'll hear stuff like that, which is deeply Eastern esoteric mysticism and stuff like that, which is, so it's not Christian. It's not Christian to think that
definitely not Christian.
You can think things, if you just think about being a millionaire,
right,
one day you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, the whole idea
by the act of you thinking about it.
Right.
But I mean, there can be a practical way, which I would say is not sinful, is
getting a job.
You have a goal.
Oh, wait.
You want to start a company. Yeah. So you bust your butt and you're like, I want to be a millionaire, instead of sitting around and thinking about it and, buying $1,000 crystals.
Dreaming. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You actually go bust your butt, start a company and become a millionaire. So there's a practical way.
I mean, if you want to buy a $1,000 crystal, I've got a couple. They're available. Just DM me up on the Instagram, and I'll make sure we can get those to you.
I know friends that spend thousands of dollars on crystals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, so that was a good tangent, but I just wanted to. So you may hear this stuff that seems like it's scientific because they're saying, oh, the observable universe, the the uncertainty principle, and all these kind of things. Schrodinger's cat, like that.
Right. Yeah.
And a thing.
And there's definitely a tremendous amount of new, because of the power of computers now.
Yeah.
And programs. It's so much easier for a layman to get involved in some of these things. It has just a little bit of knowledge about these things, and they can begin to create things that they don't even realize. When I say create things, I don't mean like create things. I mean like create an idea about something. Whether it's
right, that
like
can be spread,
a concept of some kind. Yeah. And the information just spreads so quickly, like you were saying. So.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I will say that what is totally, I would say, biblical, and totally within the realm of something, is that you could be, you may have it on your heart that you're supposed to be rich and you want to give money away. You want to become rich. It's just on your heart. You're like, I want to be a philanthropist and I don't have a lot of money, but I help out all these shelters and I really have a heart for it.
Yeah.
What is biblical is that God could totally give you some windfall where all of a sudden you have some like crazy thing like, oh, that great aunt that you never knew about?
Right.
Or, some weird thing like that. Oh, you just inherited $10 million. And then, if you're a good steward of less, you'll be given more to be a good steward of.
Yeah.
So stuff like that can happen.
Yeah.
But it's not because anything that you did. It's because of God seeing that and blessing you.
I mean, he does give a lot of people money and they're not good stewards with it.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And they're not good stewards with it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I know some people that were good stewards of it and are very rich.
Yeah.
And continue to be good stewards, and they're awesome people.
Yeah.
So
they go to sleep at night and they're not worried about the economy or
So
how they're going to retire.
I'll end by this and go back into it by saying there's nothing wrong with rich people.
No.
Jesus didn't. It's not a problem to be rich if you're good with it. But,
that's right.
And it's not bad to want nice things, in a way that is not glorifying.
You're such a materialist.
I am not a materialist. I am the furthest thing from it. No. I dress like I'm homeless.
You do.
So that people won't mess with me because no one thinks homeless people have anything of worth, and I don't really have much of it.
You're probably a secret millionaire, and you haven't told me yet.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
All right. So, anyways, back to that. Although they are not by any means missionaries, the cultists do try to attract members. This is in accordance with the belief that progress in the things of the world can be achieved by cooperation as well as magic. So there you go. That's the thing about I was talking about like the Freemasons.
Yeah.
So in a practical way, like what it said is if we can get this millionaire into our group,
Yeah.
he can give us jobs in the company, or, he knows people. So there's that, but also
We'll rub each other's back,
Yeah.
scratch each other's back or whatever. Spread the wealth.
right, exactly, by magic. That's the part.
By magic, yeah.
So it says, further, it is believed that the magical practices are more likely to succeed if there is a community within which they can be given expression.
Mm-hmm.
It was put to thus. So it was said this way.
Yeah.
If 3 members of the cult get together and decide that they are to progress in the world, they may find that they have a call to open, say, a shop. If they have the confidence that this is likely to succeed and they are given the Peacock power, the environment, or in this case, the shop in which to work, it cannot fail.
Mm.
So
I wonder if the Peacock power just reminded me of something. I wonder if NBC, if they're members of this cult.
I don't know, maybe. It wouldn't be. Yeah, it is a peacock.
That's the Peacock, right in plain sight.
In plain sight. So if nothing goes on to which anyone might take exception, why is the cult so shy? Why is its very existence kept secret? In the first place, much uninformed literature on the subject says that it is the worshippers of the peacock that are devil worshippers.
Mm.
The origin of their belief is the Muslim intolerance under the Turks, which labeled these schismatics infidels.
Yeah.
They are not allowed to use the name of Satan, and it is blacked out in their books. This is because they are only allowed to think of good and must not retain the idea of evil in their minds.
Mm. Cool.
Yeah. Secondly, the high priest told me the organization is pledged to maintain secrecy because there has been no society and no country in which the ecstatics have not been subjected. We must be allowed to operate for ourselves and with ourselves. We are not interested in casual onlookers and press sensationalism. You want to take it off?
Sure.
Sorry, I just talked a lot. I need to take a sip.
I was reading ahead a little bit there.
The nature of...
Yeah. The nature of the ecstatic experience, which is attained by the members, is of course the kernel of the whole thing. But let us start from the beginning. Members are expected to be on the watch for possible recruits. The theory is that there is deep down inside almost everyone a feeling that he is unfulfilled. This fulfillment is sought in the career, in promotion, in money, in marriage, or hobbies. But there remain a large number of individuals who do not attain it. These are the prospective members of any cult, and especially of the Peacock people. In conversation, the member is to find out the mental attitude of the prospective recruit. What are his hopes and fears? What are his weaknesses and strengths? What are his goals in life? Reports on these people are submitted to the high priest, providing that the potential member is not deeply in debt or thought to have any unusual or perverted interests. And once he has developed an interest in fulfilling himself, he can be put on the list of candidates for missionary development. So this is the process of getting involved and
finding people.
Moving up, yeah.
Yeah.
People who already have a metaphysical commitment or learnings towards spiritualism or organized religion of any form are barred. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The candidate is asked whether he would like to take part in group discussions or demonstrations of contemplation and concentration based upon Eastern model. So that's what you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of, if you can think it, you can get it. You can achieve it. If he agrees, he begins to attend meetings at which he is developed. This development takes the form of going through exercises which give him the power to direct his mind at will upon certain thoughts and exclude others. If he is interested in hypnotism, he may be taught this, with the reservation that the group's attitude towards hypnosis is that it is of limited value, except in the early stages of spiritual development. He brings his problems to the leader of the circle. These difficulties are met in discussion, in training how to overcome worry and confusion, again by concentration and meditation. The entire program of mind training is leading the candidate towards the mystical experience, although he may not yet be aware that this is so, or even that such a thing exists. So, man, they're kind of covering a little bit of everything. they don't want to include anybody that has any kind of religious background,
Yeah.
or who has faith. I guess that's just going to get in the way of their.
Well, it's a lot harder to break down somebody if they have a strong belief.
Yeah, you got to deprogram them.
Yeah.
You got to deconvert, and then
it's interesting. Maybe they think that people who already have religious leanings are, it's too much work. You know what I mean? Like if you see a business owner, this guy, two guys own pizza shops, right? Whatever.
Bad example.
Okay, bad example. Two guys own used sporting goods stores. I can't think of anything else at the top of my head.
Shoe stores.
Shoe stores.
Perfect.
There you go. And one of them is a deeply devout Jewish guy or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And the other guy is not religious at all?
Just secular, yeah.
Yeah, which one's going to be easier to try to make this stuff sound appealing?
Yeah.
And it also talked about, which is interesting, it talked about how every person it says, everyone has the feeling that they're unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So maybe someone, which, I mean, the Bible talks about that.
Yeah.
And that we all have a yearning, a natural yearning. I'm paraphrasing. Do you know that
He's placed eternity in the hearts of man, Ecclesiastes chapter 4.
Yeah, there you go.
So
everyone is feeling unfulfilled if they don't have Jesus, and there is something missing.
Well,
and
this is like the groundwork for idolatry, if I ever saw it.
Right.
Because you try and replace what God gives with some kind of material or materialistic thing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes spiritual things, but oftentimes this is what's so funny too, as you were talking about, like the Jewish guy and the secular guy in the shoe store. A lot of organized religions, they have an aspect to them which is generous and sacrificial. Mm-hmm. Like almost all of them do. There's some form of sacrificial behavior from the person that follows it.
Right, like strapping a bomb to your chest and blowing up a school bus full of children.
That's one form. I was thinking more along the lines of it is better to give than to receive, like in Christian charity, I was thinking about, the economy of God's kingdom, right, in general is, if you want to get, you need to give.
Yeah, it doesn't work like our economy does.
You want to live, you got to die. You're not like bomb strapping to your chest die.
Well, they believe that.
They believe that, but that's an error. So, anyways, So, all right, let me go on.
Okay.
So we were talking about the initiate and some of his mystical experiences. It says, if he finds, as he generally does, that he is deriving benefit from this form of psychotherapy, he is told that he can progress further. But that in order to do so, he must place himself completely in the hands of the master of the circle, the high priest. Here we go. I knew it was just a matter of time before the other shoe dropped, right?
Yeah, I do want to say it is interesting. There are, I was trying to think off the top of my head. I can't remember which particular cults. Oh my goodness. I've never burped like that before.
Coke Zero
I'm
burps
so sorry.
on the bed.
I'm so sorry. I've never done that before.
Welcome to lowbrow podcasting.
I'm so sorry. Maybe just talking about a cult just made me. Oh my goodness, I'm embarrassed. Cut that out. But yeah, there's cults that start off like this because he says if he likes this psychotherapy, and so they get him in with self-help and some basic meditation tools to calm down someone, and then they're like, okay, so now you want to learn more about that. You've gotten some benefit.
Right.
Like Scientology does this.
Yeah.
In a way where they say, hey, we'll do this test, and you do the personality thing, and they actually literally do stuff like this where they give you basic self-help stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you got a lot out of that, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Well, there's a lot more to it too, isn't it?
And they're just letting your guard, they're like slowly pulling your guard down.
Yeah.
You're like more trusting.
Yeah, because
like value
in some way, you might get some value out of the initial stuff that they are going with. So,
I actually know some Christians that got hypnotized to try and quit smoking, and it didn't work.
I've been hypnotized.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to know what that's like.
Yeah,
I don't want to be hypnotized ever.
Yeah, it's there's weird stuff around it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that off the podcast. Though.
Okay. Now everyone listening is going to be like, oh, dude, I want to hear about Rosie's hypnosis.
They were crazy. I did a couple sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep reading.
Yeah.
So
I apologize again for the burp.
So he's placed his hands completely he's placed his life or himself completely in the hands of the master of the circle, the high priest. At this point, some out of the running, partly no doubt because quite a number of people object to being told exactly what to do. The remainder, however, carry on. The next part of the training is to carry out specific exercises, mental and physical, in a gradual course until he can fill his mind with various emotions at will: joy, fear, optimism, a sensation of power. He is given words to repeat before going to sleep. Any dreams are to be carefully noted, for these are looked upon as omens and are interpreted in accordance with the fixed rules by the master or the guide, his assistant. So we have a high priest, and now we have a master or a guide, an assistant. That's probably the person that got him into the cult,
right?
To go, and so they're trying to involve at will emotion control, and dream logs. Which I believe in dreams. I mean, God uses dreams in the Bible. He's used dreams all the time. I mean, happens all the time, but not every dream's from God,
right?
And I always get nervous when people are like, "Oh, I had a dream." It's really funny. Some people have really accurate dreams.
Yeah.
They're, prophetic.
Well, that's probably because they have the gift of prophecy.
Yeah, right? Or dreams, spiritual gift of dreams or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but a lot of that is based off of Carl Jung. I think he was the first one that wrote the first study of dreams. And a lot of stuff.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wrote, I'm pretty sure that's what, the standard go-to medical derived thing. Like if you go and look up, what's the Bible of dream interpretation or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's
Carl
right.
Jung did.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure it's Carl Jung. I'm almost positive it's Carl Jung that went through all this.
And so he
or
identifies.
Freud. It was either Freud or Jung.
But I think it was Jung.
Yeah,
I do remember hearing about this now. And he identifies certain things. Like if you dream of a red umbrella, it he almost
red means something, umbrella means something.
Right.
Yeah. But he had some weird stuff, so I would say also be wary of reading some of this stuff because there's he's not as bad as Freud.
No, Freud was a freak.
Freud was a freak.
Get your freak on, Freud.
Yeah. But anyways, so be careful with that.
Yeah. Do you want to read some, or do you want me to?
Yeah, man, I'll take over.
All right, cool.
There is no carefully worked out theology in the movement. The peacock represents the power which is in charge of human affairs, and anyone who wants to enter the fold must believe that there is such a power. I talked to several members who said they had been recruited at a stage before this, however. They were curious to know how various of their friends were able to battle life without flinching, were able to achieve what others could not, and so on. They asked, and were brought straight into the instructional phase, at which there is no preaching, only practice of exercises. When the exercises seemed to work, they were told that it was through the power which was called the Peacock Angel, and there were probably several hundred members throughout Britain, and I was told of 3 lodges in the United States. Some of the members live in some of the members have live peacocks in which they are kept as symbols of the path upon which they have embarked.
Dude, wait a second.
Yeah.
That is something. I've been to more than a handful of very wealthy people's homes.
Yeah.
And when they have lots of property, there are peacocks oftentimes on the property. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Peacocks they're pretty durable birds. They can live in a lot of different environments, like extreme heat. They're not going to have problems in heat.
Yeah, I don't know.
And cold.
I've never been to. I don't know about that. I have no experience with that. The weirdest. Well,
I'm making connections here. Okay.
There probably is something to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe even it's just like a thing for wealthy people. It's like a symbol of authority, power, and wealth, or something.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense too. I was going to say the only crazy animal, super rich person I knew.
Yeah, this story is amazing.
Yeah, no, he had 3 kangaroos.
Oh, I love that story.
Oh, yeah.
That's
so
that
was the only rich animal, really super rich friend that had weird animals.
Man.
Okay, yeah. So after the ceremony just mentioned, Worshippers and guests were ushered into a large, well-furnished room where refreshments, no alcohol, were laid out on buffet tables. They had removed their outer robes and stood revealed as ordinary men and women, much like the type whom one might meet at a better kind of cocktail party in the West 1 district of London. The sign of identification, I'm pretty sure, is thus. The right hand is placed with the fingers spread out, perhaps to represent the tail of a peacock, on the left breast, just above the heart. And the countersign may have been stroking the chin with the left hand. The latter symbol is one which has been in use for many centuries among mystical fraternities of the Middle East, from which the London Peacock people have undoubtedly derived their rituals and probably their beliefs as well. In the Middle East, the chin is stroked with the right hand.
Ah.
So it's a backwards.
It is backwards.
Thing. Yeah.
It's funny because I'm left-handed, and I will play with my beard, and it's always my left hand. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Dude, by the way, National Left-Handed Day was just the other day.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
I'm left-handed, man. You should care.
One of my sisters.
One of your best friends is lefty.
Well, that's maybe jumping a little too much.
What?
I'm just kidding.
I've been.
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We worked it in twice.
We did.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Out of the 60 members whom I saw at this meeting, none looked like a foreigner. None of the working class. Nobody seemed on superficial inspection to be the wild-eyed crank type. So
this writer.
They're normal people. Rich, wealthier, normal people. Prayers are...
Right. I'm just thinking about what Biden said recently.
What do you...
About...
about
poor people have as much... Oh... Talk about a racial statement, man.
Poor black kids are just as smart as white kids.
No, he just said poor people are just as smart as white kids.
That's what it was, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's not good, man.
Crazy Joe.
Crazy old Joe.
Oh, man.
Prayers are said in private to a small, probably silver image of a peacock. These or such of some of them were shown to me, did not seem to ask for much else other than enlightenment, material progress, and mystical experience. When it is desired to attain an objective of a more specific type, special rituals are used of a magical type. He said, I asked the high priest about black magic and evil wishing. This is what the high priest said about that. Black magic is an appeal to the power of evil. We believe that evil is not a power in its own right, but an unhealthy force which can be built up in a man's or woman's mind. So that's interesting.
Hence, they have a theology. Said earlier, they don't have like a real assigned theology, although
they do. But I was going to say
Right.
that's, again, this thing you'll hear where people talk about, I want to say it's Hindus, or no, Buddhists, that evil, evil doesn't really exist. It's just a perception, but there's no... it's
not organized in the...
I was gonna say they would say that Satan is misunderstood, but there's all this kind of stuff where there's not really evil. It's just your attitude towards it.
Yeah.
So that's a very new age thing where it's I'm trying to think of something where it's
I know what
my
you're saying.
mom died. Yeah, well, think about this. She's not in pain. They'll try to do stuff like that. Where they literally try to take away any kind of evil. There is no objective evil,
right?
Or anything.
No, I hear
like that.
you. Yeah, there's not a singular evil force that's organized, structured, and intentional.
Right. It's your perception towards something. So
they would black out the word Satan in their
in
their
not
literature.
Even allowed to think about it in the first place.
So they're not even allowed to mention it. So yeah, they're going to have a pretty skewed view on evil.
Yeah. Therefore, we do not... So I just want to point that because these are the subtleties that you may not think much about.
Yeah.
But they actually are...
Huge.
Rooted in... They're not Christian. They're not a Christian... Well,
they're just not truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just not truth,
Yeah. It says, therefore, we do not give it a place in our thoughts. Evil stuff. To think about it would be to admit its existence and give it reality and focus. So by thinking evil, then you're actually creating evil, which is kind of...
it's like the opposite of the power of positive thinking.
Yeah, but I was going to say that kind of negates itself because if you're thinking something into existence, it has to be there
Right.
to exist in the first place. So therefore,
Ooh, they're like actually doing their own.
like their logic doesn't follow through. It's like, well, don't think about evil because it doesn't exist.
They're punking their own self.
And then if you do think of evil, which doesn't exist, now it exists.
That's right.
So
You just
so does it
created
exist?
evil.
So you got to like think some of these things through just a step.
Right. Yeah, but see, that's your religious background coming in, and that's why they don't want you guys in
It's true.
the Peacock cult.
Yeah. Just a little basic logic. Therefore, the devil does not exist for us. Those who revere evil are as bad as those who fear or hate it. We ignore it completely. The same answer gives you the explanation why we cannot indulge in evil spells and the like. They must not exist because we do not allow evil to exist in us. Since we are aiming at removing the evil from people's minds, we cannot allow thoughts of it to enter. The thoughts which we have here are all constructive.
Okay, so that's where they say, like, at the beginning, they have two thoughts. That which is constructive is one of them, and
Right.
informative, was that the other one?
No, I think it was like income. It was something where it's like, yeah, we're going to get that money and we're going to build stuff.
We're going to be thinking good. It was construction and increase.
That's an increase, yeah.
So that's the construction part of it there. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, no, not really cool. That came out wrong.
You want to...
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. How was the Order of the Black Peacock financed? It says there is certainly a good deal of evidence that money is being spent upon it.
Duh.
You will see, said the priest, one way in which money comes to the shrine. You can draw your own conclusions from it. But I may tell you that the organization is not run for profit, and members make money as a result of any activity of whose success they have prayed to the Peacock. They pay 2.5% of that to the shrine, so they've already got a tithe of 2.5%. This money they keep in their own possession, and they lay it out for objectives which are decided by the council. Who were the council? The council changes every year, and on the occasion of our spring festival, the first Wednesday in April, there are 2 representatives for every 20 members. Elections are among all the members. I suppose that the priests had an automatic seat on the council. Not at all. In this year's council, for instance, there was no priestly member. So what I find interesting about that is not so much the council and all that, because a lot of people do that kind of stuff, but the fact that it's when it is in the first Wednesday of April in the spring. And I just think about like other cultic pagan things.
Yeah.
That
When is
are-
the
The Maypole or May Day or whatever they call it.
yeah, but I feel like I've read something about that particular time in April.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything.
Well, there
more.
is a solstice that happens, so it could be lunar related.
Yeah.
But I'd have to look. But
Yeah.
it just popped in my mind when I like, why is
Yeah.
the first Wednesday in April and in spring? Like
Yeah.
every spring they do this. But spring represents new life, and they're probably trying to initiate a new thing and put
Right.
new people in place. I'm going to give them the benefit. I'm going to think positively about this, right? I'm laughing inside because it's just a joke. Did the order hold much property? No, it seemed none. Who then financed the meeting such as this one? In rotation of the surname initials, the members who have accumulated profits from the intervention of the Peacock in their businesses and professional affairs. So it's self-financed by members.
Yeah.
So they got people that are much more generous, I guess. I had been interested for many years in the ecstatic religion and was determined if I could to be allowed to see the exact method by which the members worked themselves up into the frenzy and what happened then. It shall be as you desire, said the priest. You are in any case invited into the Urs. That's URZ, or URS. That's how it's spelled. This word is the standard one for the festival of the patron saint in Arabic and Persian. 10 days later, I was picked up at Clapham Common Underground Station. I guess that's a place in England. After a telephone message. It seemed that there was still some doubts as to whether I was working for a newspaper or might be in some way let out a little I had learned, In any case, the number plates on the car which met me were all covered with mud, and the homely but self-possessed woman sitting in the back kept me talking all time while we were traveling to the scene of the meeting. Do you swear on every holy book upon your honor, upon the life and the death of yourself and those dearest to you, without reservation, that you will not give others the opportunity of contacting us, so that you will treat our cult with respect, and that you will help, not hinder us in anything connected with us, while you are convinced that we are worthy of this trust and consideration? I do, as he wrote a book story about it.
Yeah, I do like how they said, they straight up said cult.
Yeah.
About our cult.
That our cult, yeah. Isn't that interesting? They actually do that. In the growing dusk, the house to which we were driven seemed an ordinary small suburban one. Inside it was neat and clean, and showed that it was a place of no great size. My friend, the high priest, was there in the front room, sitting with about 10 more or less serious-faced people, some of whom I recognized from the original meeting. There were new faces, too. A tiny oil lamp burned in a niche by the door. Newcomers passed their hands over it to purify themselves as the Kurds do. We were given green tea, small cakes with icing upon them. The talk was general, and it seemed to be commercial rather than anything else. Any group of people, I thought, perhaps uncharitably, who met regularly and helped each other in business affairs, and who believed as firmly that there was a special supernatural blessing upon their activities, would achieve prosperity in the long run. There were sounds of music from the next room, much less insistent than before. One by one, the members rose and excused themselves. I sat and talked with the barrister and an accountant about my days with the dervishes in Asia and Africa, and I found out they were most interested. They seemed to feel that there was a point of contact presently. About half an hour after we had started tea, the priest took me by the arm. The time has come for me to go in. Oh, it's getting serious now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. I keep thinking of that scene in Eyes Wide Shut when that scene
when he's about to walk into the at the end.
That was intense when he had his hand on the door and all. So anyways,
yeah, I mean Kubrick got killed for that film.
I know, dude.
So
that's something was being revealed there.
Yep.
All right. A short passage led to the other reception room of the house. As we reached the door, he removed his shoes, and I did the same. Inside, sitting on small hassocks. What's a hassock? I've never even heard of that before.
Assume like a little chair.
Yeah. And swaying in time to the music.
Probably a hammock.
No, I think they were sitting on these small like hassocks.
We just asked what a hassock is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think all right, whatever. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll Google it later.
Yeah.
Swaying in time to the music were the other members of the cult. In one corner stood a smaller peacock statue standing on a large bronze vessel of water. The water was distinctly bubbling. In one corner sat a musician playing a guitar, from which a haunting melody seemed to creep through me. Its effect upon the rest of the congregation was even more remarkable. The hassocks were arranged in a semicircle around the image of the bird. Some of the figures which sat upon them had their faces covered by their hands. Others swayed with their eyes closed. Still others had their hands clasped around their legs. About half were women, their ages between 20 and 30. As I watched, a man stood up and moved towards the statue and threw a rolled-up piece of paper into the water. Nothing happened for a few minutes as he took his place again among the worshippers. In his eyes, a faraway look. Then a woman with smiling face and D's beating out the... I don't know what that is. And D's.
Hands.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, just a misspelling on the thing there. Beating out the melody on her sides, approached the silent and said, "Thank you, thank you." So then they're worshiping this peacock image, man. It's like total idolatry. The same kind of action was repeated by several more worshippers. After 30 minutes, I noticed half of the people had left the room. Meanwhile, my priest had apparently fallen into a trance. He sat on the floor, his body rigid, eyes staring unwrinkingly open. Someone about to leave the room accidentally touched him and became rigid in his turn, slowly sinking down upon his knees, his muscles stiffening, eyes turned towards the peacock. That's what, my friends, we call a demonic manifestation. That's what that is. Oh, man. All right. Being a witness to this to a scene as this is sure to have some effect upon the observer. I noted that if I looked at the statue and listened to the music, I felt a wave upon wave of something sweeping over me. Whether this is a suggestion or not, it was actually taking place in the only place that mattered, my mind, and my mind was influencing the body into greater and greater rigidity. I found that I could inhibit this process by looking at something else. Finally, I decided to allow the experience take shape, and I would partake of the mystery of the power of the peacock. He gave in to the peacock. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine just looking at this dumb, lifeless statue and then feeling all these intense feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it too, but it's just weird.
I mean, it's group psychosis.
Yeah, and demonic.
Yeah.
It's straight up demonic.
And they were all
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
We got it 3 times on one episode.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you want to go or you want me to keep going?
Sure, I'll read.
Okay.
One did not lose consciousness, I found. The mind became more and more awake, while the body seemed to recede in some way into complete unimportance. The sensation as it grew was one of the most ineffable relief of joy or happiness, such as one had only felt before in moments of exceptional fulfillment. So there's that like Jesus moment that people talk about, like,
Yeah.
that's the same kind of thing, like this
Spiritual awakening kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time had no meaning. There was nothing in the mind except the desire to allow this blissful state to continue, for it seemed to pour fresh strength into me. I was going to say, it's really interesting. I think we talked about this before. But meditation, I mean, that's all what these guys are doing. They're going into a trance, and we've talked about this numerous times, but bring it up again. Meditation of this kind of the Eastern
origins,
tantric style, I can't remember not transcendental.
Yes.
There's a whole thing, transcendental meditation, where it's all, should a Christian meditate? Answer, probably not. Depends how.
Yeah.
But actual meditation in the form that these guys do it, which is what standard meditation means,
Yeah.
is demonic. It's evil. It is not
The popular meditation, if you will.
right. It's not of God. Like a Christian meditation would be like reading the words of the Bible,
Right.
right? Reading scripture, praying, being still with it,
Yeah.
thinking about it, asking God to, maybe make sense of something you don't understand, or, waiting for thinking about it. But it's a passively active thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't turn your brain off.
No, you're actually thoroughly engaged and undistracted.
Right. And so you can get into a blissful state by focusing on the word, and there's good that comes from that. And, focusing on God and that kind of meditating on certain, things like that.
Yeah.
But what this is, where they talk about completely, there's nothing of the mind. The body became unimportant. That's this whole thing, which
Empty
is again
of self, right? Like,
yeah. And it's this, it's a very Eastern thing. And I found out, I'm just going to say this, that really blew my mind, which was weird, that apparently some sects of Judaism actually believe in that there's no distinct afterlife. That's why they don't believe in necessarily a heaven in the same way that we do.
right.
Is in that's very troubling. And I'll have to talk to some of my Jewish friends about that, because I heard a very prominent Jew talk about that when asked about heaven.
Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I think most politically attuned people heard that.
I would love to just say, hey, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. But he had said, yeah, we don't believe in a distinct thing, and when we believe when people die, they're also universalist, which is weird.
Yeah.
But this isn't here to bash them. But I love my Jewish friends. But the thing is that they're not distinct people, and you don't use your brain. That's what this is talking about. It's not evil, or it is evil. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not good. And it opens a gateway for things to enter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
The angel of light, maybe?
yeah, exactly. But I was going to say, I can't remember which verse it is. But there's one, it was either Paul or Peter, I'm pretty sure, talked about using all of our faculties to reason with things and to think and to use our brains, basically. That it is good for Christians to use your brain. It is not good to go into this autopilot, to focus on nothing, to use ohms and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is meaningless phrases that to take your attention away to meaninglessness. It's not biblical. The biblical thing is to use our brains to focus on in an active way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you know,
Sorry.
what's weird too is, I'll just say this: some of the stuff that they're describing, I've seen in some like very charismatic worship services.
Yeah.
Which bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you get a lot of the body into it.
Yeah.
And you go to exhaustion and stuff like that, past the point of exhaustion, like the runner's high or something like that.
Yeah,
stuff like that. There is a natural endorphins get released, but there's a different way when it's
that's physiological too, though.
Yeah, and music is a big thing that is not good.
Well, it can be, yeah.
Well, I mean, in the same way that a lot of cults use it in a like these droning, like if you listen to like these beats, like meditation music.
Yeah.
It's not like classical, beautiful, Beethoven or something like that, where it's engaging and it's stimulating. It's the opposite. It's like some
shutting you down.
It's some bowl, or like not a gong, but like some Asian, like where they hit it and it's like bong, like that. You just focus on the sound and you don't do anything about that. So it's very troubling.
I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was good stuff.
It said, I was able at the same time to take note of what was going on around me and also to think, if I wished, of some other things. The first wow, oh my goodness. I cannot read. I am tired.
Yeah.
The first extraordinary development within my thinking was that when I let myself think about a certain problem, the solution suddenly flashed into my mind.
Oof.
This had the same quality of certainty that exists when one dreams that one has settled one's worries. A lot of ones. The difference this time was that the solution was in fact correct, and I was able to act upon it later. It's evil. I was gonna say this. I feel bad because I keep talking every time I start reading. Here's a question for you, Pastor.
All
Pastor
right.
Turner.
What?
Can Satan or demonic beings or demons or things like this know things that are true outside of our time? They may be able to tell correct things. Like in this case, I'm thinking of a problem.
Right.
The solution comes to me. It's not from God. It's from some other heavenly being or something like that. That is not good. Will they able, to some extent?
Can they read your mind?
No, not can they read your mind.
Oh.
Can they be true in telling the future in some ways?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think first of all, humanity is very predictable.
Right.
When you take, say, you've been observing. I'll be a very crude example.
Yeah.
Say you raise sheep. You're a shepherd. After like 3 or 4 generations of sheep, you pretty much know what they do, how they react, what they do.
Yeah.
They're very predictable because you've been around them. Imagine a spiritual deity. I say deity in the sense that it's eternal, in the sense that it was made by God, but it's not God. But a spiritual being that's been around since before creation of man, has observed everything from the beginning of time, and it knows the cyclical ways that man works, the bait that we fall for, all of those things. It knows exactly what our appetites are, exactly how to trip us up. Of course, it's going to have an ability to predict the future and predict. I mean, think about it this way. If there's a cult designed around materialistically advancing yourself financially, most of the people going in there want and have needs to get wealthy.
Right.
So why, like, it's literally a setup, like for the enemy to come in and start to, implant thoughts and whisper things in this time, especially when you're opening yourself up spiritually.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
basically laying yourself in front of them saying, hey, do whatever you want. I'm here.
Right.
So yes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wish I had some scriptures to do it.
I was going to say, didn't they they had prophecies that were not of God back in Egypt and stuff like that, right?
Even in Jesus' time, there was even with Paul, there was a girl going around reading futures.
Right.
She was like a fortune teller or whatever. And in those situations, it's really interesting because I think when we're getting into an area, another tangent, and maybe we might even have to finish this next week or something like that, like with part of our next one. But there is something called familiar spirit. It's known in Christian circles as familiar spirits, and these familiar spirits have tendencies to function in the same way in people's lives. They're recognizable traits, how they work in people's lives. And so they start with a person at a young age. And so what could happen is, you have someone goes to a fortune teller, this spirit who's been with this person, hanging out with them for their whole
30
life.
years, yeah.
It's going to whisper things to that in the spirit realm. It's going to whisper things to that palm reader who's tuned into something.
Yeah.
Or that fortune teller, and they're going to know things, And as far as the future goes, I think, the future is always like, it's the future. So you can almost say anything. Mm-hmm. I can remember before I was a Christian, I went to a palm reader and they told me, I was going to have 5 kids and I was going to live this really long life and, all these other things. And,
So you're going to die soon then.
I'm going to die. I only have 3 kids. She was so off. No, but I remember leaving there and it gave me some sort of like, oh man, this like a mystical fulfillment, Yeah. It's just sad. It's just really sad, especially when we're told in Scripture that God knows all the hairs on your head. He knows all the days of your life are numbered, and He has them in mind. Your future, once you're resting in Christ, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the good news. That's like the real. And when it comes to like material things, and it's like God provides.
Yeah.
He says, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, where you're going to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if He's a good father would make sure their kids get taken care of in a practical way.
Yeah.
So
I didn't mean to preach there.
No, that's right. I had my future read as well.
Oh, you did?
A couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago?
Yeah, we'll talk.
More recently.
It was weird. It was a weird thing.
This podcast, I'm finding a lot of things about you. Were hypnotized. You went and saw a palm reader.
Yeah.
Or crystal ball. Did you have a crystal ball?
No, it was some weird Native American thing.
Oh,
great. It was weird.
Did you have to smoke some of that?
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
No, I didn't.
We're going to wear it out. I
Yeah.
mean, people aren't going to want to do that anymore.
Okay, I'll just start reading. I'll
Yeah.
stop taking tangents. The second phenomenon was a vast expansion of memory. Trying to recall a time about which my memory was slight, I fixed upon a moment many years ago when I was carrying out a study of symbols used in ancient cultures. Anyone who has had the difficulty of absorbing and correlating masses of almost meaningless designs would understand how I felt when I suddenly realized that these shapes were whirling past my mind like an unreeling film.
Mm.
There was all the material available whenever I wanted to see it, stop it, or reel it back.
Wow.
Had I been doped, drugged, I examined this thought at leisure. Yes, it was possible. I could test this by not eating or drinking anything next time, if there was to be a next time. Meanwhile, I tried to recall the symptoms of the use of various drugs, and the whole complicated data, which I had read and discussed years ago, flashed back into my amazing new mind. Yet I could not account for the symptoms, unless I was in such a state that I was in no condition to seek them in myself, physically speaking. There was no disturbance of sight, no vomiting, no sweating, no apparent disturbance in the heartbeat, no sensation of flying, no shortness of breath, no distortion as far as I could see in thought. Was it hypnosis? Was it easy enough to think that I might be? but no form of hypnotism is conclusively known without suggestion, in spite of what the sensational novelists say. It is easy to use phrases as suggestibility induced by drugs, but any experimenter knows that the effects vary and that the phrase has less meaning than it seems to have. If I were drugged or hypnotized, I would be able to see by one test. Could I rouse myself then slip back into the state at will? I tried and I could. Then there is a matter of idiosyncrasy, which the would-be dopers could not know. I was, for example, a very difficult hypnotic subject. Further, my tolerance to drugs is so low that in all cases of narcotics being administered to me, I have had the most severe hangover, and I cannot be roused easily. I decided therefore to rouse myself and go to the other room to see what my symptoms might be then. I stood, shaking off the influence, whatever it was. In an instant all seemed dear again. Passing by the door, I moved quietly through the passage where a number of Peacock people were sitting, talking in low tones. I sat down on a settee. Nothing seemed in any way changed. There was no explanation. The roots of the Peacock Angel cult in the West must be sought at the sanctuary of Sheikh Adi, north of Mosul, in Iraq. In spite of what Madame Blavatsky, it was very interesting, and she wrote a lot about stuff like this, Theosophy, I think is her thing that she wrote. It's pretty evil, but she's really well known. If you want to know, read some stuff. But it's interesting. Read some of her stuff and you'll see some crazy stuff. Interesting, though. So in spite of what Madame Blavatsky, who claimed to have visited them, said, the Yazidi Peacock people are in fact Kurds and their language is Kurdish. The name by which they style themselves is taken from an old Persian word Izid, meaning originally something which is to be worshipped, and their reputation as devil worshippers has melted before the light of modern scholarship. The Turks who tried to convert them to Orthodox Islam and the Western missionaries, who are somewhat baffled by their rites, are mainly responsible for the label of demonolatry.
Demonolatry. Wow.
Demonolatry, which stuck in a many popular imagination to produce a good deal of lurid fiction. The journalistic Blavatsky is at her most imaginative in the following, which she evidently claimed to be based upon a visit to the Yazidis. They are called and known everywhere as devil worshippers, and most certainly it is not either through ignorance or obscuration that they had set up the worship of and regular intercommunication with the lowest and most malicious of both elemental and elementaries, so spirits.
Yeah.
They recognize the present wickedness of the chief of the black powers, but at the same time they dread his powers and try to conciliate to themselves his favors. They join hands and form immense rings with their sheik, or an officiating priest in the middle who claps his hands and intones every verse in honor of the Shaitan. Then they whirl and leap in the air. When the frenzy is at its climax, they often wound and cut themselves with daggers.
Oof.
They coax and praise Shaitan and entreat him to manifest himself in his works by miracles. As their rites are chiefly accomplished by night, they do not fail to obtain manifestations of a varied character, the least of which are enormous globes of fire, which take the shapes of the most uncouth animals. The authoress of Isis Unveiled, from which this extract is taken, evidently did not feel herself bound by the limitations of the human knowledge of her day. But the Yazidis are at least partly responsible for their misunderstanding. It is only relatively recently that they have explained to all and sundry that they will not pronounce the word Shaitan, which is Satan, because of the very use of the sound they think is associated with the power of evil. Satan, they hold, was a fallen archangel whose period of power over mankind was limited. He is now rehabilitated and influences the affairs of man in both good and bad ways. The force of evil is disappearing with his guilt, but can be contacted and delayed in the disappearance by those who think about it. Who actually was their founder? Oddly enough, Sheikh Adi is one of the most sanctified Sufi mystics of the 11th century. As the authoritarian Encyclopedia of Islam has it, it seems that, quote, the Yazidis should have chosen as a national saint a Sufi sheikh like Adi B. Musafir, recognized without qualification throughout the whole Mohammedan. I love that word. The whole Muslim.
Right.
The whole Muslim world, whose orthodoxy, as we find it in his works, could hardly have led to the foundation of a sect so heterodox and foreign to the the nature of Islam as Yazidism actually is. But it is possible that the esoteric teaching, which is carefully preserved by the Sufis, might have been passed on in the case of followers of Adi in this form. Certain it is some of their beliefs and practices are similar to those known to the Sufis. So they're pairing them together. So.
Yeah.
You want to...
Yeah, the Yazidis are superficially organized in a manner similar to the Sufi dervishes, and the similarities which have been pointed out between them and the Buddhists are probably derived from Sufi origins. Man, they're just a plethora of, like they're a cornucopia of weird things. The laity are all termed murids, or disciples, because the entire nation is considered to be composed of would-be initiates. The clergy are called kahanas, or mystical leaders, or else ruhan, which is a term signifying those who can enter a deep trance. The ordering of the various ruhans closely follows Sufians. The sheiks are all descendants from Adi, and wear white robes and black turbans. They form the highest class of ascetic. Under them come the pirs, or ancients or sages, black-robed and white turbans, while the fakirs, the fakirs, or ordinary ecstatics, form the rank and file of the mystics. They also have a sisterhood called the Fakiriya, the little poor ones. That's what they're called. No,
doesn't that sound... What is Mother Teresa's sect? Wasn't she...
Oof.
It was pretty darn close to...
That's the little poor ones. Yeah, those... You should Google that while we're doing... I'm going to keep reading.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. No outsider is allowed to see the secret rites of the Yazidis on their own ground, but there is little doubt in the minds of those who have been partial witnesses to that the rituals follow more or less closely the symbolism of Sufism. The daily ordinary ritual consists of hailing the sunrise, and then circumambulating a stone which has been placed upon the ground. This stone is inscribed with the name Malak Tas, the peacock angel, and the ritual is not thought to be a form of worship. A Yazidi told a Sufi initiate whom he mistook for a co-religionist, "Let us remember the force of the good and the bad which are one, and let us now stand before it and move around our stone. They believe in reincarnation, and that to be born again as an animal is an indication that one has lived an evil life. Those who have lived good lives are reincarnated as human beings. They receive messages from the peacock in a manner quite similar to the spiritualistic ones, which tell them of their former lives and explain how past experiences can help them in their current incarnation. There is legend that a large number of reincarnated Yazidis live in the West, but why this should be so, nobody knows. So what's interesting, so if you've been listening and you kind of got lost there, they're kind of going to the origins of the peacock, how they're connected to this Yazidis who are connected to, who are the stew of Buddhists and Islam and just weird.
Yeah, it's a weird mix.
Yeah, it's just like a stew, like I said. Did you find?
Yeah, it wasn't Mother Teresa.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay.
It was something called Little Sisters of the Poor.
Oh wow!
So little poor one. It was close enough.
Yeah, little poor. You were onto something there.
It picked my mind. Yeah, the little poor.
All right. One of the more secret rituals concerning both the reaching of a satisfactory ritual and also contact in this Western group. 6 dancers and 3 singers assemble in an enclosed place before one of the 7 important portable peacock statues. A chant is started by one of the singers, taken up by the others. It begins with a long, drawn-out, repetitive repetition of the words Malak Tas, and it continues in the rapid repetition of the 4 syllables. When these proceedings have been continued for about 100 repetitions, the dancers light 17 small oil lamps, which they place in a circle in which the worshippers assemble. Before the rite, all are in the state of ritual purity, having put on a single clean garment. Men and women do not mix in this observance.
It's just interesting that now they talk about the chanting.
Yeah.
Malaktos is...
It's just a word.
It says it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it's broken down into 4 syllables.
Yeah.
So, or else it would... So, no, but I meant the fact that it says repeats the 4 syllables as opposed to repeats these 2 words that mean something.
Right.
It just is
more
back
of that
to that Eastern
Buddhist influence.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Let's see. Okay, now the dancers begin to gyrate, moving slowly around the outside of the circle in an anti-clockwise direction, or also known as counterclockwise. They say nothing, but their arms move and their palms of their hands are rubbed together. As the pace quickens, the repetition gets louder. Soon the ordinary murids begin to shake and to appear paralyzed. Then the latter, they always sit facing the peacock emblem. It is believed that during the ritual, much merit is acquired, which will help towards the improving of the character and thus leading it to a human incarnation and a westerly destination. The Sufi idea of baraka transmitted magical power, literally meaning a blessing, so baraka means blessing, is also held by the Yazidis. Thus, it is that a person who is thought to have such power is sought after and asked to place his hands in the manner of the early mesmerists in front of the eyes of the murid. This is described as drawing down the blessing. So I guess it's a form of...
that sounds kind of, like you said, Pentecostalist when they're calling down the blessing.
Put the hands over the forehead, you know?
Yeah.
They're like always trying to push you down, you know?
Yeah. You want me to finish it out? Or?
Sure, go for it, man.
All right. The focus of the religion is the former Christian monastery of Lalesh, where Sheikh Adi lived his last years surrounded by disciples and zealously performing miracles. This is the shrine to which pilgrimage takes place. Interesting. This too is where the shining... Wait. Yeah, think about that. What was another secret society that took over former Christian monasteries? That was also Muslim?
Yeah. Yeah. Was that the assassins?
Yeah.
Yeah. They would force their way in.
Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah.
This is the shrine to which the pilgrimage, blah, blah, blah. This, too, is where the shiny black snake symbolizing regeneration and reincarnation.
Man.
I can't remember what the thing is called, but there's this, you see a snake actually is...
Eating its tail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Aura Borealis, I think it's called, is...
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
That sounds familiar.
It's an ancient... thing. It's but the snake, taking its place. Regeneration and reincarnation is, so maybe that's where this came from. Sorry again. This too is where the shiny black snake lies, carved against the portal of the sacred precincts. The snake is blackened each morning with the soot from the olive oil lamps, which are kept perpetually burning. The symbol of this is that Sat is the product of the oil, which does not die, as nothing really dies, but is changed. So again, that's this form of Buddhism, which is the reincarnation and the thing of just passing from one state to another.
Yes.
There's actually some... Go ahead.
By the way, it's not the Aurora Borealis. That's the stars up in the northern lights or whatever. It's called the Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's close. Hey, off the top of my head.
No, dude, you were right on. That's fine. It was good enough for this lowbrow podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, it's actually interesting that some esoteric stuff, I don't know if we actually talked about that in any of the other secret societies, but reincarnation, I just found this verse, it's very clear. I don't know if we haven't talked about that before, so let's just say it right now.
Yeah.
Reincarnation is not real.
Correct.
It says, I can't remember what the verse it said. I think it's in Hebrews, where it says, like, man has one life, they die, they either go to heaven, they either go to hell. That's basically
yeah, Paul mentions that, actually. It wasn't Hebrews. Paul says it is appointed to man to die and then judgment. It's like...
Yeah. What?
But there's also, like, to die or he says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Right.
That's Paul also. He said that. So
Okay.
Paul wrote most of the New Testament because he's just beast that way. So
Yeah. Sorry, it's late.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like half the time if you just say, I'm pretty sure it was in like Hebrews or Romans or something like that, the time you're probably...
Yeah, Hebrews
accurate.
and Romans, they're both pretty big books too in the New Testament.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So here it is. The baptism, which is a part of Yazidi ceremonies, is not an essential feature. There you go.
Okay.
So they're not Catholic, but is a symbolic act of dedication by the person being baptized.
Dude, that's totally a ripoff of Christianity.
Yeah. This is reflected in the words which are used by the officiating priest. These are the quote, as in this clean water you purify yourself, so you shall cast off sin, as evil has been cast off from the world, and exists not except in the minds of evildoers. Therefore, be this your resolve reaffirmed, not to think evil. So they get steal half of it, and then they put their little...
I know, dude. It's like they're so close.
Yeah.
They literally rip it off.
Yeah. There is an institution of heavenly relationship, somewhat reminiscent of the system of godparents.
Gosh.
Each devotee of the cult has a brother or sister, another brother or sister, drawn up from the families of the priestly class. Upon being initiated into the sect, the devotee is given a thick woolen cloak, such as the Sufis use, which is worn next to the skin. Weird to say, just worn. A holy thread of intertwined black and red wool is put around the neck. Like the sacred thread of the Parsis and other ancient Middle Eastern cults, this must never be removed, and it sounds like the cold that the Templars were accused of wearing when the order was suppressed as heretic. A bright red woven wool girdle is worn around the cloak of the order.
Cloak of the order, yeah.
This initiation follows a fast of 40 days and a ritual bathing which is symbolically removed all past sins from the would-be fakir. At least until recently, the Peacock people of Europe had little contact with their opposite numbers in the East. The main difference seems to be that the Western branch is less interested in the reincarnation belief, which is interesting. Whether Sheikh Adi, when he saw his mystical school to carry on in the 13th century, foresaw the strange developments which took place within the order in the Levant, and the stranger ones in England and elsewhere, seems unlikely indeed.
So our Peacock friends, you know what's kind of interesting about that last section there that we read about the Yazidis? It feels like the Peacock order, they just took basically the thoughts part of it, and like we'll worship this peacock in like a semi-transic state, but we're not gonna do the baptism. We're not gonna do the special garments and like all the other stuff that you see with the Yazidis here. It feels like they just took really just Western appealing things.
Yeah.
Like we got some order, we got some brotherhood, we've got some benefits, and we'll just use all these spiritualistic ways of thinking to make ourselves rich.
Yeah.
Think Yourself Rich. That's actually a book.
Yeah, Think and Become Rich. I think it's
Think and Become Rich.
Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
Something like
Think
that.
and Become Rich. And then there's Think Yourself Rich is another book that I saw too, which is a lesser known. You see them in you always see those books in like the Salvation Army and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess it didn't work too well.
Yeah, or maybe they're so rich they're just donating it.
I want to get, I want to think and grow tall. I want to be 6 feet tall someday.
Well, you can break your knees and have them
Oof.
rebuilt.
Oof.
Don't they do that? They can break your leg bones and then stretch them and then...
Dude, I don't know, and that sounds really painful.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You know what?
I'm okay at 5'10".
Probably do that in Asia.
They probably do.
Eating eggs with a little boy pee,
Oh my god.
breaking their legs to get taller. They do some crazy stuff over there.
They do. I know.
Yep. All right.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Black Peacock cult of secret societies. That was another one down.
Yeah.
These last couples have been strange, and then we're eventually going to attack the Masons and the Illuminati.
There's so much to them, and they're so overdone, but we will.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, honestly, like, people want to hear, like, I actually had some, I was at a party yesterday, and someone was asking about our podcast, and they're like, hey, when are you going to do the Masons? They literally asked me that. I was like, I don't know, maybe soon. They're like, I want to know about the Freemasons. I'm like, just Google it.
Yeah.
What are you depending on me for?
There's whole podcasts that do so much.
Like the Illuminati, there's literally a podcast about the Illuminati. They expose them all over the place. Like, we don't even have to, But we should just we'll just put the link to their podcast in Anyways.
But hey, we want to go through some weird, lesser known ones.
Yeah.
So
that's right. You're not going to hear about these on some of these other mainstream podcasts that talk about secret societies all the time.
No. Yeah. And it's weird. I was going to say, this is what's interesting about this one, and why I think we wanted to do it, is it shows that it said didn't look foreign.
Right.
And England back then was pretty white.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, it's not white much anymore in London. Whites are minority there. Englanders.
Nationalists.
Yeah, white people aren't a minority in London.
Yeah.
But this time it was. And so these are all wealthy. So it's just interesting to see in the West how a secret society functions, and the weird things, how they take a little bit from that, little bit from that. Don't go all the way, like some Sufi Islam and some Buddhist stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll make it palatable to the Western people. And so it's interesting when you look back at like the assassins and those kind of esoteric things, or things from the West, or these religions. It's funny. They almost like boil it down. And I think of it as like make it stupid for Westerners.
Right.
Because
we're just not mystical.
We're not mystical.
We're materialistic.
Right.
Which is why this is probably a very appealing, cult.
I'm sure there's still goes on.
Oh, of course.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Anyways.
All right.
Thanks for sticking in.
Yeah, that was a good one. A good one. So, hey, we will catch you next time on All Out War.
Stay hydrated.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to know more, you can visit us on the web at alloutwar.us, or you can find us on Twitter at alloutwarcast. Hey, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.